Hey Wargamers, Ben here. Today we're going to do a quick video tutorial about magnetizing infantry units. The technique I'm going to show you today is going to be how to magnetize an entire arm, putting a magnet into the shoulder socket, both the torso and the arm itself. So this technique works really well for veterans, for bikers, for captains, high cost HQ units, librarians, anything that you have that you would potentially want to swap weapons out in the future. If you are playing a strict WYSIWYG, or you just really like the modeling aspect and you want your unit to be carrying exactly what you want them to be carrying, then this is a really good way to do that. Today I'm going to be working with Reivers. I'm going to be magnetizing both their heavy bolt pistols, the combat knives, and their assault bolters. So I'm going to cover pretty much every step I take. The entire drilling process, the entire gluing process, the way that I orient the magnets, and the way that I ensure that the magnets are always going to be oriented the correct way. Alright guys, so I've got my Reivers laid out here. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be doing 3 with the heavy bolter and the combat knife, and I'll be doing 2 of them with the bolt carbines. So first and foremost, we've got some of the tools we're going to need here. We've got my magnets. These are 1/32 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. They are rare earth magnets. They're pretty strong. They are itty bitty, but they are more than strong enough to hold on one of these really light plastic arms. Got a push pin, just your standard push pin. What I use this for is I use this to establish a pilot hole into the shoulder typically, so that I've got an exact spot where my drill is going to take. And I know that it's not going to slip around or miss. And of course, hobby knife, super important. They can be really handy to separate some of these magnets. If you just need to get one off, you can just kind of slide the knife between there, and you know for sure that your magnet's going to stick to it. Alright, so in order to establish your baseline, your 2 original magnets, the way you'd start this is actually really simple. You take your first arm, whichever, left, right, doesn't really matter. You drill it, you glue it, you put a magnet in. Doesn't matter which way the magnet's facing for the first one. It's going to be the basis for the rest of your magnets. The next step is you're going to glue in a magnet, and you're going to make sure that it is the polar opposite of the other. So to do this, I'm going to take an arm. We're going to go ahead and tap that pilot hole, and then we're going to drill away. Now with these Reaver arms, you will notice that they are not entirely flat, especially with that little hole there. So you don't want to just drill into this arm, you want to drill perpendicular the way that it's going to match up with the shoulder. Right there. So you want to drill at a 90-degree angle from that position. This is the right arm, need a left. Drop a magnet on here. This is drilled out. Just needs a little glue. I'm going to take this magnet, insert it, and slide. Leaves the magnet behind. Test fit. Boom. So what you have to be aware of is the fact that this is going to rest flush and parallel to that shoulder. So it's just going to flush right up and match. Now with this Reaver arm, if you just put a magnet all the way in there real deep, it's not going to make physical contact with this torso. And every little bit of space you've got in between there, you're going to lose just a little bit of strength in your magnet. These are pretty strong. You're probably not going to have your arm falling off all the time, but why chance it? Why do all the work if you're not going to do it right? So what you want to do is you don't want to drill just in this all willy-nilly. You want to go perpendicular to this line. Since that's the way it's going to be sitting flush, you want to have that magnet try and match up with the edge that's going to be touching that torso. So you're just going to drill this out just like anywhere else. With the arm, you don't want to go too deep. You go too deep, like with the torso, you go all the way through, you you had a problem. And it is really easy to go too deep. I just went way too deep. Gonna add just a touch of this stuff. And it's gonna be the same premise as putting a magnet onto a body. So there you see we've got our extra magnet here. Just gonna insert and slide. That's nice and flush. That glue actually dries really quick, so I'd say it's safe to test fit. Awesome. So now we've got a Reaver who's ready to go. Looks kind of weird. He's not looking the right way. But that's okay. So we know these arms are good. Go ahead and put them together, set them off to the side. There we've got a nice strong attraction between the magnets. Boom. So now, theoretically, if this were a Reaver Arm, we would have our master set. These are awesome example because they totally fit together well. But since I've already got a master set, I use these with the flat edge. With the flat edge of these, it's a little bit easier to slide them off than with the Reaver Arms and their slight indent. So I'll continue to use these as my master set. So we've got a handful of other arms here to do, and we're just going to go ahead and do them. Alright, so this is one of those really deep holes. Way deeper than a magnet needs to be. The problem is it's not perfectly round, so a magnet's not going to fit in there super flush. So all I want to do is just touch it just barely with the drill. And just add a little bit of a crevice for that magnet to sit in. So now we're going to add just a touch of glue in here. Same principle. Now this crevice is a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit more awkward to just add it and slide. So here's another one with the deep crevice. Thankfully this one's kind of got a hard edge that I'm hoping to be able to slide across and get it to stay in. Alright, so magnet in the hole, slide, that easy. So with the bolt carbines, I'm going to go ahead, I didn't glue the arms together, I'll glue the second wrist afterwards because I didn't want to try and fit everything in between the two, having the bolter in the way. It's just a little easier this way. I'll make sure that my magnets are facing the right way, do a test fit, then I'll glue the hand on and be all set. There's a good example of that magnet turning on side. That's not going to work. Now we got to use another magnet to get it out. So one of the best things I found, if it doesn't work, you just kind of got to keep adjusting which angle you're pulling at. You want to get it to pull against a sharp edge. If the edge you're pulling the magnet against is a little bit slanted, it's got a higher chance of coming out that way. I'm also going to make sure that there's a little bit more glue in there. Forgot that this magnet was on here. Hope it's not glued. It totally is. Got it. Lost it. Did it perfect. It was just off camera. Cool. That is all of them. So now I don't need these anymore. We got a set of heavy bolt pistols and the combat knives, and I've got a set of 2 bolt carbines. So now that most of my glue is dried, except for maybe on these guys here, do ourselves some test fits. 1, 2, bada bing. So now that I know that both of these carbine arms are oriented correctly, I'm going to go ahead and glue the wrists together. But I'm going to do so while they're on the model so that they glue in a position that's going to sit naturally for. If I glue these off of the model, the odds that the angle is going to be just a little bit off are a lot higher. And there we go. Now the nice thing is, with your standard Space Marine arm, I found that if you screw up and somehow you get your magnet backwards, one of the easiest ways to fix a problem is to straight up take an X-Acto blade and cut into this arm. So I just cut into it on one side and pop that magnet out, because there's going to be a shoulder pad going on top of this, and you're never going to see that. So now I'm just going to do the last 2 guys, just to show you how quickly you can kind of do it. Press that in. That's that. You don't need a lot of pressure here. Too much pressure, if it slips, you can stab yourself in the finger. It sucks. Or you can break off pieces of your model just by putting too much pressure on the backpack or the head. The drill will do all the work for you. Sharp steel going into soft plastic. Alright, so they both have glue in them. I'm just going to use this arm because I know it's a left arm, right arm. You know what? So they're both glued. Get some magnets. Got a left and a right. One for each of them, and one for each of them. Boom. Boom. And this right here is another huge benefit to having these arms already magnetized. So I don't have to worry about which way the magnet's facing. I just know left arm, right arm, we're good. Alright guys, so that was a quick how-to video going over the technique I use to magnetize any kind of infantry unit, particularly in this case, Reivers. I want to note specifically that the way that the Reaver's arm is with that indent makes it a little bit more difficult to magnetize. Your typical Space Marine arm, or most arms in general, they're flush, they're flat, and it's much simpler to just drill into it and insert your magnet and go. I can probably magnetize a squad of 5 in about 5 minutes. It is really simple, and once you're on a roll, you can just knock it out. Alright, so another thing I want to mention really quick is just how many magnets it takes to magnetize one squad. For those 5 troops, it took 20 magnets. You're looking at 1 magnet per shoulder, and you're looking at 1 magnet per arm. That's 4 a guy. If you have other alternative arms, say you want to switch between the bolt carbine and the heavy bolt pistol and the combat knife, you're looking at a total of 6 magnets. That adds up quick. If you are looking to magnetize a whole bunch of guys, order a ton of magnets in advance. Another thing to mention is when you do order magnets, if you order just a couple of the larger magnets, they can come in really handy. The really tiny ones work great for infantry arms. It's all you need. You don't need anything bigger than pretty much the smallest size that most places will have. Like I said earlier, these are 1/16 inch by 1/32 of an inch. Like I said earlier, these are 1/16 of an inch by 1/32 of an inch. I don't know if they got any smaller on the website I ordered these from, but they're perfect. They're more than strong enough to hold an arm on. They're going to last for a while. They're not losing any of their strength. And if you start putting in really chunky magnets, it's just overkill. And they just get more expensive as they get larger. So unless you get a really good deal or you find them on sale, don't bother with the bigger stuff. The other thing you want to keep in mind is just the bigger your magnet is, the bigger your drill bit's got to be. So you can find a 1/16 or a 1/32 drill bit relatively easy, but once you get above like 2 or 3 millimeters, they don't work as well in the hand drill. So I would just caution you there. I've had a hard time drilling out some of my bigger magnets. In which case I usually just switch to a X-Acto blade, and I have to like rotate the blade and try and carve it out. Aside from that, I really love magnetizing. I think it's a fun process. I think it's easy enough that it's enjoyable. You only need a couple of tools. Magnets aren't too expensive if you if you shop around a little bit. Get them from a dedicated source. Typically on Amazon they're a little bit more expensive. eBay's got some good sources out there. But it really adds to the versatility of your army. If you're looking at playing competitions where it's a strict WYSIWYG, or if you really just like having a bunch of options for your models, magnetizing is the way to go. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Let me know what we can do to improve. Let me know what you'd like to see, and I'll be doing my best to make it happen.